The energy giant Centrica, which owns British Gas, has reported huge profits of £3.3 billion last year, more than triple those of 2021. The increase is largely down to the surge in energy prices because of the war in Ukraine. British Gas has recently been criticised for entering the homes of vulnerable customers to force-fit prepayment meters. Our business correspondent Theo Leggett told us more about the record profits of energy companies.
Centrica isn't alone here. It's one of a number of energy companies producing record profits at the moment. We heard from BP and Shell last week, much the same picture. And that's led to renewed calls for windfall taxes to be increased. The UK does have a windfall tax. It's called the Energy Profits Levy. And from 1st of January, that's to 35%. That's applicable to profits generated in this country. But some environmental groups, some opposition politicians say that's simply not enough. With the size of these profits, which are basically unearned, they're the result of oil prices and gas prices going up. There's a feeling that perhaps these companies should be paying more, so that we are likely to see renewed calls for that to happen.
Theo Leggett. While Simon Francis from the End Fuel Poverty Coalition said that the energy market is broken and hurting the most vulnerable.
These profits are being made off the back of people who are vulnerable, off the elderly, off families with young children, of disabled, of people with long-term health conditions who've been condemned to live in cold, damp homes this winter. And whilst they are profiting because of the increased energy prices worldwide, they do, we feel, have a duty to sort of really recognise the impact that those prices are having on customers here in the UK and indeed elsewhere in the world. Because they will say that their retail arm makes a little profit. Well, it still makes a decent sized profit, and the profits that are really driving the big numbers are from the production and the trading arm. So that is where the profits, and that's where the price rises that we've all seen have come from, because of the excess profits that are being made by energy producers and by the trading and markets teams that are trading electricity and gas and making money at every turn.
But Centrica don't set these prices, do they? I mean, how easy would it be for one arm of the business to cross-subsidise the other arm?
Well, they kind of admit that they do that a little bit anyway. They sort of said that they provide some additional support for vulnerable households, which is more than they make in profit, they say, from the retail arm. So they clearly are fine doing that if they want to do it. It's a choice that they're making. And I think what's interesting is elsewhere in the report, they go on to talk about the fact that more needs to be done to help vulnerable customers. And they've even gone as far as calling for a review into the energy market regulation. Clearly, they feel that, as we do, that the energy market is broken, it's not working, it's hurting the vulnerable the worst, and we need to see a whole review of Britain's broken energy system.
Yes, as you say, Centrica do think that more needs to be done to protect customers. But to what extent is it one individual company's or all individual companies' responsibilities, as opposed to something that happens at a national level through legislation?
Well, it's clearly a collective responsibility. The way that the market is structured at the moment is that we need the energy firms, we need the regulator, we need the government to work together to really, we'd urge them to speak to the people, though, who are working with charities. So members of the End Fuel Poverty Coalition, members of the Warm This Winter campaign, these people are working with people on the front line dealing with these issues, and have also come up with proposals for things such as a social tariff, which is reduced amount of tariff for those vulnerable households, or the idea of energy for all, which is a basic band of energy that everyone gets for free, with people who go above that paying slightly more to subsidise it. So there's lots of really interesting ways that the energy firms and the government could work together to create a system that is better for consumers and fairer for the most vulnerable.
Simon Francis from the End Fuel Poverty Coalition.